Or teeth, they say, look, here's a carnivore. And they'll show typically a large cat, a lion, and actually looks more like a cheetah there, something like that. Of course, there are no other kinds of carnivores that exist anywhere on the planet. For example, hagfish that have no teeth at all. Vultures have no teeth whatsoever. So on the basis of this argument here, neither hagfish nor vultures are carnivores because they don't have sharp, pointy teeth like this. Okay, so that's some ridiculous reductionism for you. Omnivores, of course, yep, they still have some of those. Yep, good. Herbivores, like a horse, because like horses are the only herbivores in existence. There aren't animals who are strictly herbivorous with sharp, pointy teeth like this. Like, for example, giant pandas, which do, and they're strictly herbivorous. So there's the end of that one there. Frugivores look like that one, so we'll have a look at a frugivorous primate there, which also happens to be the closest relative genetically to human beings, whose teeth look quite similar to a frugivore's, and so therefore we are at least herbivorous and probably frugivorous, because teeth though, and that's the end of it. That's the level of reductionism that these charlatans want to undertake. Well, again, let's talk about negative selection pressure here. Sure, human beings are descended from an ancestor that ate largely fruit and some leaves and things as well. A primate. Absolutely. No argument. Some 4.5 million years ago, we abandoned that lifestyle and started eating meat and fat. That was what allowed us to become the species we are now in terms of to grow our brains, to develop communication, all of those things, basically. Also, along the way, we have these opposable thumbs. We have a brain to be able to use our hands. We can craft tools. We can communicate with each other, and we can have strategy in hunting and things. We've become an apex predator. We are the most successful apex predator on the planet. We can hunt other animals in any environment on Earth and take those animals as we please, pretty much. We're very, very successful at it. And none of those things have been negatively impacted by the fact that we don't have sharp, pointy teeth like this. Humans have never in their history hunted woolly mammoths by diving at those mammoths headlong with their mouths open to try and clamp those mouths across the throats of the mammoths and to tear their throats out or to suffocate them in that fashion, in the way that cheetahs do. For example, this whole line of logic is anything but logic. It's just absolute, complete reductionism. It's nonsense. It doesn't help the credibility of the vegans. It doesn't support their argument. It's just nonsense. Okay, so teeth though, no. Cholesterol. I don't know how many times we've heard this, not only from the vegans, but also from the allopathic medicinal fraternity, if you like, for many, many years. Unfortunately, as it turns out, there never was any science underpinning the assertion that cholesterol is causal in atherosclerotic heart disease or cerebrovascular disease or any other disease, actually. When you look at the associative data, now I understand this is associative and not causal. However, this is a sample size of 100 and something different countries. This is tens, hundreds actually, of millions of person years of follow-up represented here in this chart. What you see basically here is a regression, or a series of regressions, the funny curved lines you see throughout the data sets here. And the blue line represents the incidence of all-cause mortality when you associate that with the average cholesterol level in the blood of the people in that country. And so obviously there are huge residuals around this, and the trend line is just the line of best fit, sure. So all these kind of arguments can be made. However, The trend, such that it is, with these hundreds and probably thousands of millions actually of person years of follow-up, is that all-cause mortality is lowest when the blood cholesterol concentration is 220. Not the 70 or less that the medical fraternity and the vegans are trying to tell us is indicated good and healthful, on the idea, the false assumption that they make that cholesterol is causal in heart disease. I'll deal with that in a minute. Anywho, here is the associative stuff. So 220 is the lowest all-cause mortality. If you drop to 210, mortality goes up. Drop to 220, mortality goes up. 190, mortality goes up. 180, it's up again. 170, still further up. 160, still, you can see the trend line here basically. In other words, the lower you drop the cholesterol level in the blood below 220, the higher the number of deaths from all causes. Interesting. Okay, so if we look at heart disease specifically, you will see the same thing again. So we have, in this case, the lowest incidence of heart disease. It looks like it's around between 200 and 210. It's the red dotted line near the bottom there. And again, you'll see that the lower you drop the cholesterol below 205 or so, the higher the incidence of cardiovascular disease mortality. The same is true of infectious diseases. That's the solid red line. The green line there is communicable, maternal, peripheral, and nutritional conditions. Same deal again. The green dotted line, infectious and parasitic diseases. So, I mean, you look through this chart in your own time, anytime you like, class, and you will find basically that all cause mortality and also pretty much every individual isolated cause of mortality goes up and up and up in terms of incidence, in line with a reduction of cholesterol in the blood. So that's not a good start. Okay, so that is the British Heart Foundation data collected and put together anyway in 2005. And the cholesterol there we're talking about is milligrams per deciliter. Okay, so there we go. 200 plus is ideal in terms of incidence of death from all causes and death from each individual cause pretty much as well. So there it is on that one. Let's move on now to another argument regarding cholesterol that you won't hear from the vegans or indeed from the medical fraternity. And that is that if cholesterol was a cause of heart disease, which it isn't, and there was a dose response prevalence of heart disease, i.e. the higher the cholesterol, the higher the incidence of heart disease, which I've just shown you is not the case, at least in terms of mortality, then if we took the blood cholesterol level from a whole bunch of patients who are admitted to hospital with a heart attack, then what we should see is an ever-increasing number of patients presenting with heart attack, which goes up and up and up, coincident with the blood cholesterol level in those patients also going up and up and up. So we should see pretty much a straight line, which looks a bit like that, with maybe a drop-off at the end, a sudden precipitous drop-off, because there'll be a maximum level of cholesterol that people normally have in their blood, and so after that there'll be a very, very low number of people at that level. But anyway, we should get this straight line, dose-response relationship, which is what we're told to expect. So let's have a look at the blood cholesterol levels as measured within the first 24 hours after admission to hospital with a heart attack in 348,000 individuals from memory. Let's have a look at it. Well, here it is. The reference is given to you there at the left of the screen. This is the blood low-density lipocholesterol, or so-called bad cholesterol, in the blood of patients who have had a heart attack in the last 24 hours. And goodness me, rather than this ever increasing with maybe a precipitous drop at the end, what we have here is pretty much a normal distribution curve, a normal bell curve, very slightly skewed, actually towards the lower end and not the higher end. It looks like pretty much the highest incidence of heart attacks are being experienced by people with cholesterol in the range of about 80 to 100, actually, which is only slightly higher than the 70 which is suggested. But actually, if 70 or less was indicated because of the slope of the curve on the left-hand side of this bell curve, then obviously the same argument holds for 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210 and 220 as well, because the incidence of patients per 100,000 presenting with heart attacks goes down and down and down and down in people with that level of cholesterol in their blood, which, not surprisingly, looks to be pretty much in line with what we see on the red dotted line here from the British Heart Foundation, with those hundreds of millions and probably thousands of millions of person years of follow-up. Goodness me, it's almost like they are convergent lines of evidence which seem to agree, seem to dispel the mythology that low-density lipoprotein is somehow causal in heart disease. Interesting, isn't it? Just for fun, let's also have a look at some more data from that very same paper that I'm talking about here, with those 350,000 heart attack patients. Let's look at their high density, or so-called good cholesterol, and let's also look at their triglyceride levels as well to see whether there is this cause and effect. In the case of triglycerides, it should go like that. And in the case of HDL, which is so-called good cholesterol, it should go like that, shouldn't it? Let's see if it does. Goodness me, no. Once again, we have sure skewed, but we have normal distribution curves here, don't we? So neither HDL nor triglycerides are acceptable proxy measures or acceptable predictors of the incidence of heart disease either. Oh dear. Let's move on to the final bit of discussion with regard to cholesterol. Okay, well, here it is here. This is a paper put together by Ravenscoff and his co-workers, published in 2018. This is a comprehensive review, which I suggest should be compulsory reading for everybody, but especially those in the medical fraternity and also those who have fallen prey to the Church of Anorexia Vegana and their ideological claptrap about cholesterol and heart disease, for example. Anyway, the title of this review gives away pretty much what these authors are arguing and what they're finding, i.e. low-density lipoprotein cholesterol does not cause cardiovascular disease. There we go. So that's the cholesterol myth busted. For those that want more on cholesterol, if you look at my main YouTube channel, you will find a playlist there which has more than 40 videos in it, all about cholesterol, where I cover the science, I debunk the charlatans, and I basically deal in great depth over many, many hours of science-based entertainment and educational videos. Well worth a look, so go and check that out if you need more on that one. But anyway, that's number one. Cholesterol, though. Nope. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Cholesterol does not cause cerebrovascular disease. No. Okay, so Sorry about that, vegans and the medical profession.